What's up, y'all? It's just Rhonda. Welcome to my channel. We're on to Project Runway. Actually, I think it comes on tonight. Do y'all have forum? They be coming up with all these crazy different apps and things. You can't just turn on your TV anymore and just watch what you want to watch. You have to figure out which app it is. For me, I don't have forum. It's not anywhere in my cable system, so I have to wait until tomorrow to catch it on Hulu Disney Plus. Anyway, here we are. Project Runway is season 21. It's episode 4. And let's go ahead and get into these things, y'all. We pick up at the end of last week where these people were on the bottom for the tragedy that they tried to pass off to us as fashion. Oh, what was it? Just to refresh your memory. Ethan. Ethan, aka Utica, came with, "Hey, Elsid, just getting started over here, girl. I'm way behind." Ethan came through with this, I don't know, coochie dress that, somebody's head was being born out of. That's what Law Roach said, I believe. And then I don't know what this thing is that, and Angelo, Angelo had the audacity to say he didn't think that he should be, that his design was the worst. And I'm like, well, if not yours, then whose? I would like to know, Angelo, whose do you think was worse than yours? Because at the end of the day, all of y'all did not keep in mind that these were supposed to be worn by Sofia Vergara. Ethan deleted his dress. Yeah, I find it interesting that these people, like when you're looking for pictures, um, stand in your business. You know what I'm saying? Because I was looking for, the pictures for this week. And for those of you that were on the bottom, I couldn't find it. Y'all are hiding your looks. I mean, stand behind what you do. This is why when La Roche told him his dress was bad and his confidence was even worse, it's true. He's a menswear designer. He could have did something very androgynous for her. You know what I'm saying? Based on his menswear aesthetic, but he didn't. He turned into this, I don't know, shredded up cone dress that got him sent home. So yeah, I want y'all to stand on business. If you make something and, stand on it. Because Ethan, I seen somewhere in his, repertoire where he had a dress that was just like this one. It was just a black version. So, he thought it was very grand and couldn't believe he was in the bottom, and now he don't want it anymore. I'm glad it's gone because it was terrible. Anyway, somebody's got to go. That's how that's how it is. There's a lot of talk about the different production, I guess you could say, of this season of Project Runway. I will say that half hour that's missing definitely makes a difference because we don't get a lot of what's going on in the workroom as far as people trying to get looks finished and things of that nature. I feel like we get like a little bit and then we're off to the runway. So there's definitely a disconnect there. I don't know what this low budget bull nonsense that they did this week, but we'll get into it. So at the end of the day, Angelo had to go. Angelo should have gone. I think the judges got it right. And, there you go with that. So finally, the designers get to have an individual challenge. Thank goodness, because it's stressful week after week having to work in these teams. I also feel like, by the way, that there's generally 14 designers because they're dwindling down real quick. There was 14, I believe. Now we're starting with 12 and, we're kicking them out one right after another. Jesus, who works my last nerves. I'm not an Estrada fan, not Estrada 1 or Estrada 2. So Jesus said he's glad he can focus on his own designs and not be helping other designers. He said, like dealing with VJ because she's the bitch. And I'm like, maybe she is, possibly. I don't feel like she's any bigger bitch than Jesus is. And I know you're not saying you had to deal with helping her because she absolutely didn't want any of your help or your input. VJ has no respect for what the Estradas do in terms of their aesthetic. I'm gonna go ahead and agree with her. Y'all's aesthetic is completely different. But yeah, she was actually refusing your help. Jesus. She never, only one needs your help is your brother. It's clear to see which one of the Estradas is the strongest designer over here. So while they're in the workroom, Law enters into the room, and he's the only one here this week, so he's taking the designers off on a field trip, and they end up like at this school, and it's hosted by some cast members of Abbott Elementary. I don't watch Abbott Elementary, so I don't, I hear it's very good, but I've never seen the show, so y'all have to tell me. Anyway, this is the unconventional challenge. What did La Roche say? We do not want to see any hot glued fabric, any junk hot glued to fabric, and we want to see innovation and creativity. That's what he said. I don't know why the two Abbott Elementary people weren't judges. And how come the fashion show couldn't take place back over at that school? Why are we in the workroom? This was the tackiest and most uncreative, unconventional challenge I think I've seen in all 21 seasons. I think they all sucked, personally. I think the winner and the losers were all equally bad, pretty much. Maybe not equally bad, but nobody was on the top for me, to be honest, this week. But, this is how we're going to do it. Madeline's over here acting all in a tizzy. Most underfunded episode. I would agree with that, El Cid. El Cid does her own recap of Project Runway on Saturday. So if you want to get it like real quick, fast, right after the show has aired, you can run over to El Cid 9:32 and see what she's got to say about these designers. But she said it was underfunded, and that's what it was giving. Like, I was just so confused by the lackluster of it all. This is supposed to be the most exciting challenge out of all of them, and it was just I just don't get it. But here we are. I'm a fan. I'm gonna stay a fan, because I love the designs of it all. Anyway, Madeline is acting like she never seen this show before, and she didn't know that they was going to have an unconventional challenge. And I'm like, Madeline, this is what they do over here every season, ever since the first one. So you should have been practicing getting out of your comfort zone. Maybe they're underfunded because they got to pay La Roche so much money. That's where the funding might have went, El Cid. That's your boy. I love La Roche, so I'm not going to act like he's not. I just don't understand what this was. This whole thing was. They said the Disney Princess and Villain Challenge is the most popular. I'm going to go ahead and say I feel like this one has to be very close, if not the most. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, here we are over at this school, Abbott Elementary. It's a science fair, and their job is to go grab whatever they can from these science fair tables and, make something creative. Yes, La Roche. I didn't say he was taking the money. I think he cost a lot to have him there. And, he's got his own fan base. Anyway. I didn't like him here this week. I didn't like him here this week. So they go rummaging through like they always do, tearing through, whatever it is that they're supposed to be pulling together. Jesus is using volleyballs. Yu-Chin is using soccer balls. So it's a battle of the balls over here. VJ is using those little birdies. They were calling it something cock. I don't know. They were birdies from backgammon. What is it? Badminton? The little, plastic thing that you hit over the net. She's using those. Miss Joan is using popsicle sticks. Joseph McCrae using a banner. And I don't know how many times they have been told over the years to not use things that look like fabric, but it looked like that's what they all did, with the exception of Miss Joan and VJ. Belania, she just got some plastic, child. Madeline, she got some silver, I don't know what that was. She cut them into triangles. It was some silver something. At least she, transformed it into something different. I'll give her that. Antonio has some plastic circles and some tissue paper and some flags. These boys will put the kitchen sink on a dress if you let them. Ethan, butterflies. I feel like Ethan has probably done this dress before. So I I like Ethan's creativity, but I want to see him polish it up. I want to see Ethan not create a costume every single time. This, challenge was okay for a costume, but anyway, I feel like I've seen he's pulling things from things that he's done before. I feel like when you go on his Instagram, you can see a lot of things that are similar to what he's doing now. So let's see some new ideas, Ethan, and some high fashion, not so much costume, like I said. The designers, while they're in the workroom, Christian is walking around and they're sharing some of their personal experiences. And this is the part where I feel like that half hour is missing because we're not getting a whole lot of who these people are necessarily. It's just real quick. There's a lot of time over here with these Estrada brothers, and why, I don't know. What's his name? Yu Chin. Yu Chin talked about being abused in his childhood, and that Lady Gaga helped him find his voice. So his dress was definite dress. I don't know what it was that he made, but it was very much inspired by Lady Gaga. But even Lady Gaga don't really do that anymore. She's Stephanie these days. I feel like Stephanie be coming and singing, and Lady Gaga, all the costume of it all is the thing in the past. VJ says she was supported by her parents. So she got very emotional while she was telling the story. She said in the Philippines, it could be very dangerous for a trans person. So she said, growing up, her parents were very supportive of her. And, that's cool. I don't know why she's so bitchy, though. I can't tell if it's a character that she's playing or that's who she is. She's definitely stays to herself for the most part during her creative process. I can understand that. I don't necessarily need a bunch of people around distracting me and, telling me what I should and shouldn't be doing during the creative process. But yeah, Miss Joan was a cheerleader, the captain of the cheerleaders, as a matter of fact. Miss Joan, if you were over there being a cheerleader captain, then you should do much better by not letting these people guide you in a direction that's, off course from what you were supposed to be doing. They're in the workroom. We can see them getting their designs together. This is the one time that I feel like everybody is kind of focused in a way, with the exception of who had a little snag. What's her name? Balani. I always mess up her name. Belania. Belania. She was gonna come over here and make a raincoat out of plastic. So I feel like raincoats are made out of plastic. That's not innovative nor creative. And Christian talked her out of that. And then Joseph McCrae, who has this banner, you could tell by his fabric choices that this is new to him. He has this banner. He was going to turn it into whatever kind of dress he was going to turn it into, and it didn't work out. So he had to flip it. But he in no way transformed that fabric. It was just the same plastic that it would have been hanging in the gym, except for he turned it into a skirt. So I like Joseph McCrae's ideas, but he's so unpolished. He's so like not there yet. And so when he does these creative shapes and things, like we've seen in his portfolio, the ones that we have seen are probably the best of what he's done, where he had time to execute and figure things out, make mistakes, take things off, put it back, try it again. You don't have that kind of time in this workroom. So if you make a mistake and mess up, you got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them. So we had a what'd you say, Elsa? He signed the outfit, and that's a no-no. He did sign it. I think it's because the judges are not supposed to know like who did what. So he did sign it. I mean, he didn't have to sign it. It was very obvious to me that he made that. His signature is, it's there. You could definitely tell that it's a Joseph McCrae design. I think that's a good thing. That's what they want you to do. I don't know why he signed it though. Like, he said it wasn't ego, but why else would you sign it? Like, what would be your reason for signing it except for you feeling yourself? Law said it was cocky. The fashion, the runway is going to be in the workroom, which I hated so much. The workroom still has their stuff like thrown fabric scraps and things thrown around. They have to push it off the table and then take a seat somewhere. There is no runway. Like I said, the Abbott Elementary people could have come back. They should have went back over to that school. They couldn't afford a sprinter, Elsie, to take them back over to the gymnasium at the elementary school, because the runway at the workroom is whack. Hopefully they'll never do that again. You're talking about this is a first for Project Runway. It should also be a last. Nobody wants this. It's just tacky. The runway is supposed to be over the top, and especially for the unconventional challenge. Like, y'all took all of the air out of this sail. It's just floating there in the workroom amongst the scraps. Law Roach is the only judge. I don't like that, because there needs to be other perspectives. There needs to be other perspectives besides just his. He has an idea of who he would put in his dress, but what if your clientele is not over here? So, it's giving low budget. And like I said, I feel like the budget went to Law Roach and Heidi Klum. Y'all brought her back. Whew. And then she ain't even here. Why? Why wouldn't she be here? This time, whoever's in the bottom has to be voted out by their peers. So La Roche picks his top. He picks the safe ones. He picks the bottom. So I guess we could get into these fashions, because we're talking about the people, but with the episode being so quick. So these are the top looks. Like I said, I'm not a super fan of any of them. Yu Chen is the winner of this challenge. Yu Chen refuses to put his models where their boobs and their booty cheeks are, always exposed. The only thing I really liked about this is the boots, the way he, put the soccer balls. The soccer balls are, part of her boots. It's kind of like an anime character. So it's cool, but it looks like soccer balls. It looks like she ran through a soccer ball, and that's how it all stuck on her. And this is what La Roche felt as his number one. So who's going to wear this? Not Celine Dion. I don't even see, what's her name, Zendaya wearing this. It definitely, Elsie says the headpiece is the only good part. I agree. I like the headpiece and I like the boots. And I feel like I wish the dresser, when Yu Chen finds himself in a situation, he defaults to a titty top and a little bitty skirt. Now, I didn't get a picture of the back, but he left the balls like balls so that her booty cheeks are big. I guess, child. Ethan, I feel like it was hard to even see what's going on here. It's a lot. There's butterflies in here. He did transform the materials. He transformed them for sure. But who's wearing this? It looks very outer spacious and very costumish. So if this was on RuPaul's Drag Race, I would probably have a different opinion of it. But, when everybody's looks are terrible, then this is what you got on the top. VJ thinks she's so great with this dress that, it looks like lace. I suppose, to me, it looks like the coffee pot doilies and the napkins they have all been told not to keep doing over and over again. So while I think she's definitely got a better look than Yu Chen, I will give her that. But, when you're looking like it doesn't suck as much as the next guy, because there's nothing under it. It's just those little birdies. I don't know what y'all think. I was just very much disappointed. This was just as bad to me as last week's challenge. VJ's look doesn't look like the original material. I'll give her that. She definitely transformed it, but it's just all right, though. I've seen, and I took a picture of it, and I didn't, post it over here, but there was a season where one of the designers had sombreros, and she worked that, those hats into a dress that was so cool that you would want to wear it. And then there was another season where they were in the candy store, and there was a designer on there who, he was very much into making rose petals, but the way he, put the candy, crunched the candy up all over the dress. I'm just, like I said, these all look like projects from that high school. This looks like what the high schoolers did. This does not look like what professional designers do. I hated it. Um, who's safe? Feel like we ain't gonna be here long, but I mean, hell, they wasn't over there long. Um, Jesus Estrada. He made a dress out of what were they? Dodgeballs. I honestly feel like he should have been in the top because, he should have been in the top. I feel like at least you can see where he put work in. It looks like leather. It doesn't look like soccer balls or beach balls or volleyballs stuck to somebody. It looks, he has the jacket. There's an eyeball on that jacket. I don't know why he felt like he needed to put that eyeball there, but yeah, I wasn't really feeling the eyeball. But aside from that, I feel like he definitely, I mean, he's safe, but his dress to me was definitely better than Ethan's. And I don't want to say VJ, but yeah, we could have took Yu Chin, and Yu Chin is my favorite. We could have took him off of there and replaced him with Jesus. Blondie is not actually on the bottom. She's safe, and she should be on the bottom because this is just plastic sewn into an outfit, and that's what Nina Garcia and Heidi would have told her. We needed Nina Garcia and Heidi's opinion this week. We really needed their opinion this week. I'm sorry. She should be on the bottom. There's nothing, everybody is like giving Miss Joan a lot of flack, but I feel like her dress was definitely better than this. And then Jesus, like I'm saying, he's better than Yu Chin, but it was a little wonky. Like when you do those like lacing and weaving technique, it needs to be perfect. And she's standing with her hand on her hip, but when I was looking at it on the show, it felt like it was a little bit crooked. And I'm being picky, but you went all out. I'm gonna make it's just fabulous, and they're never gonna know. Like when you talk yourself up so much, the expectation, don't match, all of that talk you had. Madeline, what is this? It's a bunch of silver triangles turned into. Why did she style her like that? Like if she was gonna go off futuristic, which she had to take that cue from Christian, he had to guide her. But this is just a regular little skirt that, to be honest, looks unfinished. You could have made it into a whole dress if you were gonna go that way. Her hair looks like she's waiting to put her wig on. It doesn't look like she styled, put any type of energy into style. She could have had space buns. You could have went all into the whole space theme. That's what Ethan did with the hair, the headpiece, and all of that. His dress was very well thought out. It just looked like a costume. The pants didn't fit the model. Oh no, it had. Look at how it's got a diaper booty in the back. Some of those shapes are not going to work well with plastic. That halter tops look like masking tape with plastic on top. It was terrible. Who's wearing that? Literally, who's wearing that? Anywhere, any of this, any one of them. You could call it, except for Jesus. I'm gonna give him that. It looks like, a not poorly made, but not very tailored, perfected dress. But if you ask me, Melania definitely belonged in the bottom this time. I would definitely switch her out for Miss Joan. Who's on the bottom? I'm gonna start with Joseph McCray. Honestly, as much hate as they're giving him, I don't hate it. I understand why they, think he did. He just made a circle and, so what? He made a circle and a square and he made it look quite fly, to be honest. I don't know like what the little things are on there, letters maybe that came from the banner. I don't know what the banner said, but he took that and used it and made it into, somewhat of a pattern. um, Law Roach says something about him looking like crack pipes. I don't see no crack pipes, but I don't, I didn't see crack pipes. I think he was just being very, very extra. Um, Miss Joan, they hated your popsicle dress. I did not. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. It definitely doesn't belong in the bottom. She took those popsicle sticks and she transformed them. That's what the challenge is supposed to be about. I feel like her styling maybe is a little off. She better be glad that she's got a model with no tatas because I don't know how those popsicle sticks were going to be able to cover boobs if there were any. But it's interesting like how she scalloped that at the bottom. I don't know. I don't hate it. I don't think it's terrible. When Law said it looked like crack pipes, the tubes. Yeah, but I can't even see them. So yeah, he said they look like crack pipes. I guess there's tubes because I did hear him say something about LED. Um, yeah, but Law be doing the most. Oh, Joseph used the tops of pipettes, and it does look like vials. I'm gonna have to get a closer look at it. Joseph be like on another planet sometimes. I think, he's a little out there. This is just tragic. It's just tragic. But like I said, I definitely don't believe that Miss Joan belonged in the bottom. I feel like whatever she did at the bottom of that dress, she should have just kept doing it all the way up. They keep doing these two-piece things. Like, just make a dress and stop making on these little teeny skirts and halter tops and things. Mr. Antonio Estrada thought he killed it. Now, this does not look like a coat. It looks like squishy things sewed together. So he's got flags stuffed with tissue paper and he turned it into a coat. And it's pink. That pink is so ugly. Well, I mean, Antonio's looks like thongs sewn together. They are. That's the same thing he made with the little panties that go under it. And Law said the reason why he's in the bottom is because of the styling. Well, I mean, a VJ put them ugly little birdies on top of somebody's shoes. So her styling is always bad because she's not a very good shoe picker, that VJ. I don't know where, these two be on a different one. This dress right here with these bubbles attached to it. Y'all want me to believe that this is somehow way better than what Miss Joan did? I don't see it. I see a hot flipping mess. And then the styling, the earrings, like, at least what's his name? Joseph McCray. His model looks fly. Like she looked like somebody that I would want to talk to. You know what I'm saying? This other lady looks, La Roche said, if she could have wore that to the Grammys, had he not picked those boots. But I would love to see what shoes you was going to put with it to make it so, Grammy worthy. Anyway, she did. He said Miss Joan did at least color hers. He said he didn't like the black. Well, maybe if it was on a runway and not in the workroom with the lighting so bright, they probably got those fluorescent lights in there. So I don't know. Sometimes I'll be thinking that they're playing in our face a lot of times with some of these critiques. I'm not saying that this is the worst of the looks, but it's definitely, I'm not saying it's the best, but it's definitely not the worst. When you put it next to VJ and her, little birdie dress, I guess one looks a little harder, but they're both like pretty similar in terms of a little bottom and a little top. little halter top. VJ just cut those little birdies and attached them to Boney. What episode is this? Episode 4. Ooh, where do we go from here? Where? Because to me, there's not even there's not even a standout. You know, usually there's a season where you're like, oh my God, this one right here is incredible. And the seasons before, there's been 2 or 3 standouts where you're like, torn between what? This is who's the worst. The theme of this season is who's the worst designer, not who's the best designer. Because right now, they all been on the bottom. Jeez. So this time around, they have to vote their peers out. The people on the bottom is left up to the remaining contestants to decide who goes home. Well, how do we do that? Because we know the Estrada brothers come as a pair. There's no way in the world that Jesus is going to vote against his brother. And I found it interesting that his name never really came up. That kind of irritated me a little bit, but you know, we know they playing with our suspense. Joseph McCray. Jesus said, "Are we really want to go see like a bunch of oversized coats and circle skirts for the rest of the season? Don't do that, because I feel like, you know, he has some interest. The jumpsuit was fire. This is not bad. It's just not unconventional. You know what I'm saying? If he was doing this for a different challenge, it might, you know, actually be on the top. And he had to flip it and recreate something else because his first idea wasn't working. So, yeah. Not Joseph. Ethan said he just loves his aesthetic and he loves his designs. So he's not going to vote for Joseph. Ethan is very calculated. I think Ethan wants to keep people around that he knows or he feels like can't beat him. Don't sleep on Joseph. Yes, VJ is very strategic. I would like for Antonio to go too, because Antonio spent most of his time in the workroom being assisted by his brother. So, you know, you can take credit for doing this great job, but not really, because your brother was over there doing half the work. After he sold all those, like, weaved that ball together, he still had time to come help. Anyway, Joseph said he is not voting. I mean, Ethan said he's not voting for Joseph. And VJ said it was insulting. It was just insulting to everyone how Joseph went over there and made a circle skirt and a square. She said Miss Joan at least met the challenge. I would agree with that. But I want to know why you feel like, is it just because it's a circle skirt? Because if you're looking at what Antonio did versus what Joseph did, it's real easy to see it. Antonio's just looks like a bunch of plastic sewn together with a pink, like a bikini thing underneath, made out of those little flags or tissue paper, whatever that thing is. It might have been cooler if he would have painted it. The pink is ugly. Pink bubble coat that aren't real bubbles. It just looks very messy. What's this girl? Madeline. Madeline is not voting for Joseph. She says she don't agree with what they're saying about Joseph, and so she ain't saying his name. And yeah, it's not an insult. She disagrees with the whole insult thing. She doesn't like that. Joseph said he ain't like Miss Jones. Joseph is coming for Miss Jones. I feel like maybe it's because he feels intimidated. Not Joseph. I keep saying Joseph, but Ethan. I think Ethan is strategically trying to get rid of the people that he sees as competition. And Miss Jones is very much competition. We haven't seen her yet because they keep putting them in challenges. And the first time out of a challenge, I think she's getting robbed. She's getting robbed. That's pretty much where that ended. You know, we had a cliffhanger. I personally don't believe that anybody is going home. I feel like it's one of those things where we had one judge, so nobody else's input was included. We have the contestants being in a position to vote someone out. And that's basically on who you like the best and who you think you can beat. If it were me, I would be getting rid of my competition. That's what I would be doing. Why would I, come on. You could keep somebody around, I guess. That's your friend. Um, yeah, I would probably, vote. Not probably. If I had a vote, I would definitely be voting for Antonio. It doesn't look like Antonio can do much without his brother's help. So, I'm going to say let's let that go. I would love to hear y'all's opinion on who you think should go. Um, at the end of the day, I don't believe anybody's going. So we'll find out tomorrow. Hopefully tomorrow's episode will be better. Um, and we can see some real design skills, because whatever has been going on for these first few episodes has been a real disappointment. It's been very much just all right. And like I said, out of all these designers, who's y'all's favorite? I still like Yu Chin. He's still at my top if I had to pick someone. But I would like for him to make a full dress. I would like to see nobody's ass cheeks. Well, he like he did in the very beginning. His first look was so cool. I want to see some more of that. He's supposed to be a streetwear designer, so I would like to see that. Ethan, I feel like, is very talented. He's just under the influence of Utica a lot of the time. So hopefully, he said for him that's difficult, but he's gonna have to let Utica stay over there on the drag side and let Ethan come over here and create some clothing, because his technical skills are good. VJ, I don't love what she does. I think she thinks she's a bad bitch, but she's just all right. She's just gluing a lot of things to boning, and her styling ability is terrible. We know how I feel about Jesus. Jesus is mediocre. He's better maybe than he was last time, but he still ain't great. Melania, I'm surprised by her technical skills. I didn't know that was going to be as up to par as it is, and I think she's youthful. She's got a youthful point of view. I put her and Madeline in the same category. Right now they're equal for me because they'd be on the same level. Both of them are youthful ideas. Joseph McCray has some great ideas, but I don't feel like he's going to last long. If he survives this one, then he better, tighten up. And I just don't think he has the technical skills to do it, especially under the pressure that they have of doing things in a day or 2 days. And what happens when they have to come up with, 2-3 pieces? Avant-garde, usually people like Joseph McCray, when they get to an avant-garde challenge, they choke. And all that avant-garde stuff that they do, it becomes very, watered down, and then we don't see what we thought we were going to see. Miss Joan is seasoned. I don't know what she wants from this. She's a bridal designer. It may be exposure, but I mean, I feel like don't play with her because, she's very skilled. I think she's a little bit in a box and a little bit intimidated because she's older, and I don't want her to do that. I want her to just, break free out of that box and do her thing, because we've seen, like, just looking at her portfolio and the pictures that we've seen that, from her work, she's got it in her. Antonio could go home, child. He's tacky and annoying. So yeah, y'all, that's where we're going to leave that this week. Like I said, not a whole lot going on. And y'all let me know down in the comments who's your fave and who are you ready to see go home. In the meantime, y'all like the video, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you, when I see you. Bye, y'all.